Can you guys say, oh, good morning? Welcome to CultureCon 2024. How you guys doing? You know what? I love that so many of you guys woke up early to learn about investing because quite frankly, you guys are going to learn a lot today. There's so many people I'm excited to see, and I feel like you guys are gonna get a lot of gems, and quite frankly, you're gonna wanna be able to implement these things. You might need some money, right? You might need some money to be able to do this, but also learning how to grow your money is what I do best. So that is what we are going to talk about this morning. All right, how you guys feel about that? Awesome. So this is CultureCon, and there's a lot of creators in here. Who identifies as a creator? Okay, awesome. So me too, believe it or not. I identify as a creator, so I'm gonna tell you a little bit about me, tell you a little bit about creator economy, things every creator should know, and I'm gonna teach you a thing or two, all right? So let's get started. Good morning. So, as I said, I identify as a creator. I wanted to model and do all these different things. I thought I'd be a cover girl, but I learned very quickly that wasn't gonna work out for me. There was not enough money in that space, at least for me, at that time in 2015. But, you know, I made $1,000 as an extra, so that was great. But I also had a job. Do we have any New Yorkers in the house? Are we all New Yorkers? Okay, so do we have any Brooklynites in the house? Okay, so if you know anything about a Brooklyn girl, we're gonna put in that work, okay? So we're gonna go to work, we're gonna do what needs to be done, and that's exactly what I did. So I've always had multiple jobs, multiple, okay? So this is 2015, me modeling, but then I was like, you know, let's take it up a notch. I'm gonna start a YouTube channel, I'm gonna start a podcast. I remember me trying to put this podcast together called The Modern Spice. I found girls on Instagram from all over the city, and I said, we're gonna come together, and we're gonna have the biggest podcast in the world, and we're gonna get all these sponsorships. Yeah, that didn't happen. It left me at least $15,000 in debt, buying equipment, trying to make things work and pop, and quite frankly, it just didn't work for me. But I knew I wanted to be in the creative space. I knew that this was something that was important for me to do just for myself and how I want to express myself. But in 2018, that didn't work out for me either. But I knew, again, being a Brooklynite, I knew that I had to put in that work, okay? So I worked many jobs, as you guys can see there, to essentially make enough money, but also at the same time, understand that I still want to be true to self. And that's what I did, all right? So everybody know this company named Tesla. Do you guys know Tesla? Yeah? So back in 2019, Tesla was a huge thing for me. It was one of those things where I, quite frankly, didn't understand it. It was this car that looks like a Camry, but has butterfly doors. I'm like, I don't understand the concept of Tesla. But I knew I had some additional money, and I knew this was something that I wanted to at least get in and make sure that if this does become the next big thing, I would invest in it. And actually, this was the first investments I've ever made. And it actually started with a really good mentor. Sometimes we need to be able to have people that know a little bit more than us in the spaces that we're in. So I worked in hospitality during this time, and they said, you know, why not? Why not? I have nothing to lose. I got some extra money doing fashion week parties and things of that sort. And I said, you know what? This is going to be the thing for me. And quite frankly, after all my endeavors that I did, this ended up being the thing that I love. I feel like it's important as creators that we have many things that we love, right? What thing clicks for you? What thing feels natural to you? What feels like, you know what, this is going to be impactful for my legacy, this is gonna be impactful for the things that I wanna do for my life, but also what's gonna open the doors for all the other things that I want to do. And quite frankly, investing did just that, all right? So we went from this 21-year-old trying to figure it out, trying to understand what am I going to do. A lot of times to get into college. Do we have any college students here today? Awesome. You know, we try to figure it out and we think we go into college thinking that we're going to have it all figured out, and sometimes it takes some time. Sometimes you go to school for this, and you end up doing this. So I went to school and got a computer science degree that I quite frankly only used for 2 months, okay? 2 months, 4 years, and I ended up working in finance, and it worked out pretty well for me. From 2019 to 2024, I was able to make an $8 million portfolio, and it started with $10,000. So it took me about 5 years, 4 to 5 years to do that, but it started with me believing in myself, figuring out this is what I want to do, and then spreading the wealth. And the good thing about me getting into investing is that it opened the doors to do all the things that I wanted to do. I've done many podcasts. I've been a brand ambassador for many different brands. So it was one of those things where it really opened the door to all the other things I was struggling to do with absolutely no money. So one of the things that I wanted to do is how can I help creators have enough liquidity to go ahead and chase their dreams so they don't have to deal with some of the things that I dealt with. So that is when I started this company called Modernblkgirl. Do we have any modern black girls in the house or any girls that invest? No? Okay. Do we have women that invest or future investors that want to learn how to invest? Okay. So that's when I started this brand called Modernblkgirl. We are one of the largest investment groups for women of color, and we've taught over 500,000 women in the last 5 to 6 years. So we're gonna get to teaching, and just know you are in good hands. So you guys ready to learn some investing? All right, a little disclaimer for you guys. So you guys can read that. This information is provided in presentation. You guys know disclosures and how that works. There you go. And let's get into it. So we're gonna talk about creative economy. So this is the part where you take some notes, record, so you can have that ready for you guys. When it comes to creator economy, what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of people identify as a creator. 50 million people in the world identify themselves as a creator, which is a lot. However, at the same time, what a lot of people don't realize is that it can't necessarily be a full-time job in the beginning. So based on the stats, a lot of creators, when they first get started, only make about $10,000, which if you live in New York, you can't live off of that. Actually, quite frankly, I don't know where you can. So a lot of times people start off and they do this as a part-time gig, which is okay. But if you're going to do this as a part-time gig, while you guys build up steam and momentum, you need to be able to maximize that opportunity. So what I need everyone to know is that once you become a creator, you are a business, okay? So if you identify as a creator, you're a business. So I need everyone to say you're a business. Okay. It's really important that you set yourself up and you structure yourself that way. Because quite frankly, to be a creator, it's expensive. It don't matter what you're talking about. Rather, it's clothes, it's travel, whatever that you're doing, you need to make sure that you are maximizing on that opportunity. So when you are doing anything in the creative space, I need you to understand that your clothing, your dinners, your trips, coming to CultureCon, all of these things are write-offs, which means when it's time for tax time, you can get that all back. So it's really important. The moment you start getting on TikTok and you're doing your dances and you're doing all these different things, you are deemed a business, okay? So the next time you guys get in front of your phone and you do a TikTok, make sure that you're thinking about structuring yourself correctly. So setting up an LLC for yourself is something that I recommend. But let's say for the creators that are not in that pool, you are not in the pool that makes 10,000, maybe you make $250,000, you figured something out and it's working for you. These are two other structures that you should look into as a creator once you're making $250,000, okay? Because again, the worst thing you would hate to do is get all this work, do all these things that you need to make this money, and then you gotta get half of it to Uncle Sam. That's not fun, okay? You don't wanna give half of your money. All your hard work money, making it in this creator economy, you don't wanna go ahead and give that back to Uncle Tom. So make sure that you are structured correctly, and these are some things that you need to know. All right? So another thing, if you're making $250,000, a lot of times as new businesses, do we have any business owners in here that maybe you're not, oh, I love this. So you guys know it's really hard to be a creator, but it's also harder to be a business owner. There's so many things that goes into it, so many moving parts, so many hats that you have to wear. When you're doing that, a lot of times we don't like to spend a lot of money in the back end when we're getting started because we're like, oh my gosh, I have to get my employees this, that, and you think that I can't afford it. These are different things that you want to look into because, quite frankly, a lot of the things that you can get to support your employees for your company, you can actually get that money back. Rather than setting up a 401k, setting up a insurance plan, you can get all of these things back and you can find all of that information at the end. So feel free to think about that the next time you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to spend this money. But quite frankly, if your business is booming, you're making more than $250,000, you can get that back, okay? All right, so let's talk about the stock market. That is what I do very, very well. And quite frankly, that's how I was able to get on this stage today. Working and being in stocks and trading has been amazing for me. And a lot of times people say, hey, I want to get started in the stock market. Who's invested in the stock market right now? Raise your hand for me, please. I love that. Who wants to get started in the stock market? Okay, awesome. One of the first companies or first funds you're going to hear all the time is going to be the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 is a collection of the top 500 companies in the United States. So this pretty much helps reflect how the economy is doing. If the S&P 500 is coming down, quite frankly, that means there's some trouble in the water. So when we did see the S&P 500 come down, you saw this happen in 2008, you saw this happen in 2020, a little bit in 2022 when you think about interest rates. However, for the most part, the S&P 500 produces anywhere from 9 to about 15% return annually, and this is something that everyone should have some exposure to and something that you guys should look into when it comes to the S&P 500, okay? And a lot of times people think investing is so hard to do, when in hindsight, everything is just cause and effect, okay? Everything is cause and effect and supply and demand. Have you guys heard these two terms before? Awesome. I mean, it's our everyday life and how we move. You do something to me, I'll react this way. If I have a lot of this product, I can up the price. That's essentially what cause and effect is, supply and demand, and that's how it works in the stock market. I think a lot of people believe, oh my gosh, I don't have what it takes. I need to have this fancy degree. And then quite frankly, everyday decisions make you an investor. And I want to showcase that today. And we're going to talk about some things that are happening every day that will make you guys qualify to be an investor, okay? So, inflation. Things are very expensive nowadays. Gas. Do you guys remember back in 2022, 2010 when gas prices were insanely expensive? I was living in California at one time and there was $10 a gallon in Beverly Hills to get gas. Insane. You guys remember that? You guys remember when gas was expensive back in those days? Do we have any drivers in here? I know there's New Yorkers. I know we got licenses and not cars in New York. That's just kind of who we are. But the moment you got a car, it's really, really expensive at that point in 2021 to 2022. So, we understand inflation, we understand gas prices went up, you want to be able to invest in that. So there's stocks like Exxon that went up about 27% in 2021, and in 2022 about 57% that you could have invested in. And then we have AI. There's so many conversations around AI right now, and a lot of times people are just like, I need to get into this space. How can you get into this space? You have to figure out, okay, what company is booming in this stage? And a lot of times that's really hard to figure out, especially like if this is your first time investing. But one of the biggest tips I can give you guys is sometimes it's not going for the big company, but it's going for the materials that these big companies use. So when we think about AI, you're going to need chips to help supply and to work with AI. And not chips like Doritos and, all that different type of stuff, junk food, but chips for your computers. So you need chips for your phones, your cars, any kind of storage device. You're going to need a chip of some capacity, and you can invest in semiconductors and get exposures to that. So, do you guys see? It's cause and effect, supply and demand. All right, inflation when it comes, interest rates coming down, right? This is something that's happening in real time. Interest rates are coming down. People will start buying homes, which means it's time to look into real estate. So that's something that you guys can look into. Now, let's take it to pop culture a little bit, because I think when it comes to the culture, this is CultureCon. There's things that are happening that we can invest in and we can take advantage of. I want you guys to leave here today and start looking at the world a little differently. Things that you love, things that you see that are booming on TikTok. I want you to stop and say, can I invest in that? Can I make some money from this? You know, this is how I want you guys to start looking at the world. So we make a lot of jokes about Ozempic, okay? That's a joke that is always on Twitter. I think every rapper has made a joke about Ozempic. However, the people that are really laughing are the people that made a lot of money and went right to the bank by investing in the parent company of this brand. So while it started trending on TikTok, the parent company called Novo Nordisk went up 123%. That's a lot of money for a TikTok joke, right? Dating in person. When it comes to COVID, a lot of people were using dating apps. However, once we were able to get back outside, we said, okay, no more need for these dating apps. There's speed dating, all these different huge, amazing events that are happening. Dating apps are not doing so well right now. And the good thing about the stock market is you don't only make money when the stock goes up, you also make money when it comes down. So shorting companies that are not really popular right now is another way that you can make a lot of money in the stock market. Oops, let's go back. And last but not least, makeup to skincare. In the last few years, we've seen a lot of brands move away from looking at makeup. You know, we don't do like dramatic eyeshadow anymore or really heavy makeup. We're focused on skincare, and if you think about skincare, there's a lot of materials and a lot of ingredients that cost more money. So if these products are costing more money and we're moving towards skincare, you have to think beauty stocks are doing very well. So as we are moving towards a new trend, in any company, you should probably look at what's going to fund that and what can I invest in. So you guys can do that, right? It's cause and effect. Everything when you are thinking about investing, it's what's happening, how is someone going to react to it, and that is investing. Can you guys do that? If you can do that, let me hear some noise in here. Awesome. So this is your quick 25 minutes investing lesson, and believe it or not, this is enough nuggets to get you guys started. I started off as a creator, a model, yes, working 2 jobs, yes, a computer science degree. I have all these different things, working overnight in hotels, but that overnight job led me to meeting my mentor that said, invest in Tesla. And I took that $3,000, made 5 figures from that, found a love in finance, started this amazing company called Modernblkgirl, but then also built almost $10 million in the market. So this is something that if I can do it, you guys can do it too. So you guys can scan that code and hopefully join me in a free investing class. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day at CultureCon. So I have like 3 minutes to take 2 questions. If anyone has a question for me. Yeah. Okay, that's a really good question. So she wants to know how much money do you need to get started? Quite frankly, it doesn't take as much money as you think. Especially being a black woman is really expensive, okay? It's very expensive to be us, the grace and all the things that it takes to just be who we need to be. It's very expensive, so you can start off with as little as $1,000 and grow from there. So that's a really good question. Okay, I could take one more question. Okay, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to hear you, but we'll try. Okay, so she wants to know where would you start. So quite frankly, getting a proper broker is great. So I know a lot of times we lean towards like Robinhood, Webull, but using a platform like Charles Schwab or even your banking that you guys already have, they may already have an investing platform. So just to get started, you guys can use that. But I would use an investment platform that's FDIC insured, and make sure that it's not like a mobile. So I wouldn't recommend any mobile investing. I would actually join an actual bank and use their platform. All right, so have a wonderful day. I am Tiffany James, founder of Modern Black Girl and MBG, and see you guys around.